So, anyway, that's Wedding Bell Blues. The Dingwall is arriving at Starbase One for some much-needed rest, relaxation, and repair. Unfortunately, it seems we brought along our own uninvited guest. Oops. Sorry about that one. This is Wedding Bell Blues. This is the second episode of Strange New World Season 3. What's that? Tonal whiplash. This episode is a complete 180 from the previous episode. We went from dire, dour, tragic, fighting, to, wow, look at this, isn't this cute, trite, lack of intrigue, boring, predictable, but not violent. Pick your poison, right? You got two sides of the same not-so-great coin. Wedding Bell Blues is about a wedding. The wedding bell. Who is getting married? That's the operative question here. Who is getting married to Chapel? You think it's going to be Spock? You think it's going to be Korby? Dr. Korby from TOS? What's it called? What are little girls made of? But there's also another TOS character showing up here. From the Squire of Gothos. Am I spoiling anything here? Really? If you've ever seen Star Trek, or haven't, people know this character who don't know Star Trek. Spoilers, 3, 2, 1, go. Do you know Trelane? I think more people know Trelane than know Dr. Korby, but they're both from TOS, and they're both showing up here early, in one form or another. Although this character is not named Trelane, it is obvious in a wink-wink, nudge-nudge sort of way what they mean with this character showing up in the attire that he does. I'm not going to bog this down with canon problems. I'm just going to go ahead and say, you know what? This is its own thing. I'm not going to tell you that it doesn't make sense for him to mention tribbles, or doesn't make sense for him to be here this early, or doesn't make sense for him to be wearing what he's wearing. If you know the TOS episode, you know. I'm just going to evaluate this on face value. We're going to take the face value of this card, and we're going to say, is this good or bad? I already kind of, spoiled it a little bit. This episode feels pointless. It's a little embarrassing. Total lack of intrigue. Total lack of interest. What was the point of it? To be completely fair with you, and to be completely honest, up front, now that I have your attention, I value honesty an awful lot on this channel. I do not like pretending to like something that I don't, and I really don't like pretending to hate something that I like. The reality is, I didn't think this episode was offensive. I just kind of watched it. It was like warm rain on a warm day, you know? Oh, there it is, great. Now I'm wet. It could be worse. And, when it comes right down to it, I've reserved very bad reviews for very bad episodes. I'm thinking stuff from Picard Season 1, Season 2, and some stuff from, Discovery 2, 3, and maybe 4. But I felt those were deserved when I gave some of those episodes, Stardust City Rag, Hide and Seek, I'm Looking at You. I gave them very, very bad reviews, and what you'll notice, not just from my channel, but from every channel, anger sells. My subscribers grew every time I complained. So I'm just going to say, you know what? Honesty is better. This episode did not drive me crazy. I also would not recommend it. And it felt like I was watching nothing at all. Strange New Worlds, Wedding Bells. We had a previously on talking about that one time where we almost all died to the Gorn. But now we have a layup at Starbase One, ostensibly to celebrate Federation Day, the centennial anniversary of the founding of the Federation. I guess this is the year 2261 here. A little ways off for me, but I'm getting ready. Spock is now the center of attention here. This is a Spock episode. Yeah, remember that TOS character everyone loved? He's back, and you can't get away from him. He's Spock, and remember how we had that kind of love thing going on between him and Dr. Korby and, Chapel? And how is this going to resolve itself? Aren't we all so interested? Well, you better be interested, because this is an episode all about Spock and Chapel and the new Dr. Korby. It is indeed Korbin time. And there's an uninvited guest and another uninvited guest. They're compounding on top of each other. Chapel arrives for the celebration, the Federation Gala, if you want to call it. And Spock has a gift for her. Oh, it's some rare book, right? But this guy, Korby, he's a master of archaeological medicine. I think that's what they said. And you take that for what you think it means. I don't know anything about that kind of thing. But he shows up, and I don't know why Chapel didn't tell Spock beforehand that I'm coming with my date, Dr. Korby, okay? So don't do anything to make yourself look stupid or feel stupid, Spock. She didn't say that. She comes off the transporter with Dr. Korby, and Spock is standing there with a gift for Chapel that Korby takes because it's an old book. One would think that it was for Dr. Korby, and then Spock, serenades Dr. Korby saying, "Oh, I read all your papers, blah, blah, blah." Spock is very bad at looking like he's happy that Korby's there. And Korby turned out to not be a big problem in this episode. It wasn't Korby that I ended up thinking was strange. It was another character I ended up thinking was a little harebrained, we'll say. Keyword being the hair, of which I have none, on top anyway. We're planning a wedding for Korby and Chapel, and Spock talks to them at the mess hall, or whatever it's called. Yada, yada, yada. You know exactly what's going to happen here. Plot beat per plot beat. There's not going to be much I can say here. This is kind of like another joke episode. Yeah, we got 10 episodes. And if we're going to have 3 or 4 joke episodes, this should be a pretty funny season overall if we're just thinking about percentages. But Chapel talks about some poem that her late mother told her. It's all very modern, boo-hoo, woe is me type of thing. In order for us to get interesting characters, we have to see how much misery porn we can cram into their backstories. That's how you write characters now, right? And there has been tragic characters since forever, but the main thing is that today, what we really like is seeing how much we can hurt characters. If we can take this character and we can really beat them down and hurt them, that means they're interesting, right? Not really, but Chapel mentions that she heard this poem from her late mother, "Bring me the sun, the moon, and the stars," or something like that. I don't know anything about poems, but Dr. Korby did and recited this poem to her at an opportune moment when they were on some archaeological adventure, and that won her over, and now she loves Dr. Korby and not Spock. Spock is the X, I think, was a lyric from that episode, Subspace Rhapsody. I'm the X, something like that. I don't know. I can't. I've watched that episode once and a little bit. I watched it 1.5 times instead of the usual 2 that I do to try to review these episodes. To be completely fair with you, I cannot review an episode watching it once. I have to watch it, go to sleep, wake up, watch it again, and then kind of like jump around now. And I can actually talk about the episode. I've never been able to do a review after watching it once. It's not right. It's not fair. And to be perfectly honest, if we're honest with ourselves, maybe we should review an episode like a month after we watch it. Right? Because things can change in the mind. A review will be out the same day, the same hour an episode comes out. And not exactly just for a TV show. It could be for anything. But the media, the thing that's being reviewed, sticks with you forever. How can you review it in an hour if this piece of media is going to be around for the next 50 years? And it evolves and grows and changes. It's not really a static thing. So, I mean, just the idea of reviews is weird to me. And here I am reviewing Star Trek, an episode, the day after it comes out. Well, a little bit later in this case. You know why. And presumably you're watching it and I'm complaining about what I'm doing. Pretty odd, isn't it? But to get back on track, Spock is having a drink at the bar, and he gets served by what is obviously a Trelane type character, a member of Trelane species, if you will. They make a point of showing this character's reflection on surfaces, so that we know that it appears different for each person. One person thinks this guy's an Andorian. Spock thinks this person is a Vulcan. Yada, yada, yada. You get the point. He's hiding his identity. I don't know why he would, other than maybe it's just fun. Anything this character does that may seem strange could be just brushed off as, oh, he just thought it was fun, which is an interesting way to cover up problems, plot holes, issues, contrivances, of which this episode, if you're taking it as part of a prime timeline thing, would have many. But if you're looking at it based on just what it is, like I said before, it's an inoffensive piece of entertainment that you can just kind of passively imbibe. Spock wakes up. What I don't like calling this an alternate reality. I'm calling this, say, this character did not necessarily change the chessboard. He just moved the pieces around. That's how it felt to me. Spock entered this alternate timeline, alternate reality, alternate mass delusion, if you want to call it that, where instead of Spock not being married and Chapel being married to Korby, we flipped the script, and the character at the bartender that gave Spock what he wanted gave him an actual reality where he was marrying Chapel, and Korby was just kind of a, what do you call it, the third wheel? I don't know. But hilarity ensues, depending on who you ask, because comedy is very subjective. But reminded me a lot of Encounter at Farpoint, where they're at that station, and they keep producing magical things out of nowhere. There wasn't an apple on that table last time I looked at it. Oh, you want this apple? Oh, you want this? Oh, we can make all these different things. This character makes a plant come back to life. He changes the recipe in food instantaneously by looking at it. He makes things happen out of thin air. And it's all too good to be true, and our characters are just going along with it because we're engaged in a playful and fun delusion that, wow, wouldn't it be cool if Spock was marrying Chapel instead of Korby, and we all just went along with it. We're all a little bit crazy, and we all wanted a little bit for the stupid thing to happen, which is what I just said. Chapel is now marrying Korby and not Spock, that thing. And wouldn't it be cool if we were all engaged in that? It calls to mind the mind's own ability to fool itself. I think this episode, just watching it multiple times, it feels like it's about nothing, but I think in reality, you could take this as, a screed on people engaging in fun delusions and taking it too far. That's the only thing I could really come up with. So thematically, you could call it a little dry. Wouldn't it be cool if we could all just live out our delusions and do what we wanted? I wouldn't be on this ancient starship. I would be on some cool galaxy class. Wouldn't that be cool? I could just pretend for the rest of my life. Just like how we could have easily pretended that Spock was marrying Chapel. And Spock didn't come out of that delusion. He came out of the delusion because he punched Korby. And it turns out that a wellspring of emotion, be it rage or love, breaks you out of the spell. Aww. Oh, it's just like my storybook I read when I was 2. Remember? And the littlest elf told the big elf that if you believe in yourself and you have and you believe emotionally so strongly in the feeling of love, you could break the evil wizard's spell. That's how it works here. We get out of this character's spell, and I don't know what this character's name is. He's not Trelane, but if we just believe in ourselves and believe in love or rage or any kind of other emotion, like fear, maybe. They didn't have fear. Would have been interesting. We could break out of it. But that's how we eventually save the day. We eventually deduce that there's one character on this ship who isn't supposed to be here. Enterprise, tell me how many guests are here. Okay, how many people are on the ship? Okay, and is there one more? Oh yeah, it turns out there's one more character on the ship that the ship can scan. Right? That's not supposed to be there. So, this character physically exists. And they couldn't beat the Enterprise's scanner, but they could trick every person on the ship magically. They could make material form out of thin air. They could transport onto the ship at will, but they couldn't fool the ship's internal scans. So, people wanting to call him Trelane. He is not Trelane, but maybe a relative. Chalk it up to just being stupid, just trying to have fun, just forgetting. This character is not wise. They are not Q. They are not Q. Wink, wink. Say no more, say no more. But we're having the wedding. He turns the character into a dog. He threatens to kill everybody. And Spock breaks Chapel at the opportune moment out of her delusion by reciting that poem I was talking about earlier. I'll bring you the sun, the stars, the moon, whatever. She remembers that Dr. Korby said that. She has the overwhelming feeling of love for Dr. Korby. The spell breaks. Trelane starts... He's not... God damn. He is not... What... I am engaging in a mass delusion. I'm wanting that to be real, that he is that character, but he's not. Right? I need an overwhelming emotion, like pain, to think that it's not actually him. And it's not, because they never named this character. But they know what you're thinking. If you've seen TOS, they know that you know that they know. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Do you know what's happening here? Guess what? If you knew about this character before, if you knew about TOS, you knew how this was going to end. They didn't do anything interesting or different here. I knew what was going to happen the second it started. You don't want to have a plot where the viewer says, I know what's happening here. And then that exact thing happens that you thought was going to happen. You don't want to have that. You want to have some, wow, I didn't think of that, or wow, I didn't see that coming, but in a fun way. Not like this. It's just kind of like we're remaking a TOS episode, but with some different circumstances, and haha, funny, let's haze Spock. There you go. How do you think it ends? It ends the same way that the Squire of Gothos did. This character's dad, who I believe is voiced by John Delancey. Again, if I were a much more scummy channel, I would have made videos like Q equals Trelane? Strange New Worlds? What are they saying? That there's a relationship here? No, they don't. Okay? It's just a wink, and it's a wink wink. Okay? They know that we've been thinking about this connection between Q and Trelane since forever. Hell, I think even Gene Roddenberry mentioned it. They're not the same thing. But we can have a funny voice actor show up, and hey, wouldn't it be cute? Operative word cute. That, wouldn't it be, he'd be voiced by Q. And this character's dad, who is this big energy ball, comes back, and everybody on Starbase One can hear it. Now, you turn all those people back to how they were. It's time for you to come home and get spanked. Get sponked. Oh, but I don't want to go. Is that what he said? Is that what... I don't wanna... Is that what he said in TOS or what he said in this episode? I can't separate them in my mind. It's just a confusing mess of these two different things jamming together. I can't keep them apart. Why does he dress like Trelane? What's the point in that? Why would he do that? Again, I said I wasn't going to complain about timeline, about canon, about things like that. But it's so hard for me to parse it out. I'm engaging in my own delusion here. I guess the episode could be considered good in that regard, and that it makes you feel the way the characters are feeling. Perhaps that's only for me and not for you, because I've seen TOS, and now I've seen this, and now I don't know what's going on. I'm all in a kerfuffle. But we saved the day. This new character, this space wizard, is gone, and I presume the marriage between Korby and Chapel just goes on without a hitch off screen somewhere or in the next episode. I don't know. But very bizarrely, I don't know if this is an attempt at humor or what, but Pike delivers the Federation Centennial speech anyway. Like, you would think after something this crazy, they would say, okay, we'll do it tomorrow, or we'll reconvene in 6 hours. No, they don't. He just delivers a speech, and then the party commences. After all that, like, everyone go back to your quarters and, like, take 5. I know this is insane, and we've all just been led on a mystery tour by Space Wizard. But, that was strange. Okay, but hey, remember the first Federation Day, 100 years ago, that was awkward too. So maybe awkwardness is good. It's something like that Pike says, and it's I don't know. It's just, if that happened in real life, who in the universe would react like that? Like, we would be like, okay, like, you know, there would be an investigation into this. The station would be on lockdown, and we'd be confined to quarters to figure out what the heck happened here. If indeed Starbase One has quarters per se, I don't know, but you get the point. This episode ends with okay, like, what was the first episode had laugh out loud moments for me, and the ending of this episode was hysterical. Is it supposed to be hysterical? I don't know. Maybe it is. They want this to be more funny. They want this to be a more funny Star Trek than we've ever had before. And Erica, we've seen Leanne, wax poetic about how she was, waylaid by Gorn many times in her life, and she has the PTSD over that, and that's a real thing that can happen. And I understand these things, and I also know that who better than the Federation to help you through this? We can do reconditioning on your brain to fix this, I think. And boo-hoo, woe is me is the flavor, is the soup du jour for Star Trek here. And not to belittle the whole PTSD scenario with regards to real life. Believe me, I know. Do I need to see it again in a TV show? Do I need to see it again? Do I need to experience it in my media? If I see it in real life, do I need it again? We apparently needed it again because Erica is not engaging in the festivities. By the way, had her own mini plot in this episode where we're introduced to her brother that she was sparring with, and there may be something going on between him and Uhura, which I kind of liked. I don't know. I kind of like this. I think his name was Beto. I thought he was kind of cool. I don't know. And he was kind of like I think he was controlling that drone that was like making a documentary, and Starfleet had commissioned a feature-length documentary or something. And I was like, that could be kind of cool. Like, what if we had a character that was there making a movie or something, or a documentary on Starfleet? It's kind of the only intriguing concept from this episode is that, hey, maybe we could have a character filming stuff. Maybe he could be around for a whole season. I don't know. I kind of liked him. But his older sister, being Erica Ortegas, I Fly the Ship, the pilot, she storms off from this dance to go spar. Is it sparring if you're doing it alone? I don't know, shadowboxing. Looking through the ship's window, and we see a reflection. By the way, reflections are a major motif in this episode. We see so many characters' reflections on screens and stuff like that. I have to wonder if it means something beyond communicating that this character, the space wizard, looks different for other people. Are we communicating something else other than that here? I don't know. But we see a Gorn in the reflection, and Erica getting really mad at this reflection. So the PTSD stuff that was in Leanne has been transferred into Erica Ortegas because she was almost killed by Gorn. And was I supposed to laugh? Am I sick? I was just like, I just couldn't get over it. I was like, it's like the Borg again. It's like in TNG, we're assimilated by the Borg. We get over it in 5 seconds. Oh well. And then Star Trek First Contact comes around, and we're viciously are still freaked out about the Borg. Star Trek Picard comes around, season 1 that is. He's basically debilitated by being in a Borg cube. I'm talking about Picard. And now we have Gorn change the G to a B and rearrange the letters, and you can spell Borg. We have another enemy alien species that is getting into the minds of our characters and driving them crazy. That's almost spells Borg, but it doesn't. It's Gorn. And one of our characters now is haunted by them and they're going to be on an adventure of pathos and self-discovery, sadness, and tragedy that we're going to have to live through again. And this character, who I kind of thought was unflappable, I thought that was kind of her persona. I guess she's broken down by being attacked by the Gorn. Has she never been in a situation like that before where she almost died? I would have thought she was. But anyway, here we are. Erica, this is how the episode ends, with Erica boxing nothing and freaking out about a perceived reflection of a Gorn. How you end an episode is important for your tone, right? You want an episode to end kind of back where it started, and to reinforce and support the tone that you have established since the beginning of the episode. What are you trying to say here? You end the episode saying the Space Wizard goes off to be with his parents again, flicks his fingers, and everyone goes back to normal. We have an awkward speech from Pike. We start dancing, and then Erica Ortegas goes off on her own to get angry at a reflection. And that's how the episode ends. So, anyway, that's Wedding Bell Blues. I sound like I hated it. But the problem is, I promised you I was going to be honest. Musically, it's got your standard TOS fare. All the motifs are there that you expect to be there at the opportune moments. That was fun. Visually, these episodes are beautiful. If you take them at face value, like I said before, I'm not complaining that it doesn't look right. I'm going to give it credit where credit is due. If something is physically beautiful on its own, I'm going to say so. And the work here is fine, apart from, the usual fare with New Trek. The frame being a little bit cluttered, a little bit too much post-processing for me. I like a sharper, clearer image. So I'm going to, I factor that into every kind of review with visuals. When I say it looks fantastic, it does. But we're always missing the finer points here. But, visually, for the average person, they're going to say, wow, this looks insane. In a good way. Thematically, like I said, engaging in mass delusion because we thought it was fun. I kind of did that this entire review. Did you get that when you watched this? Did you watch this? Are you cheating and just watching my review and not watching it? Plot-wise, it's just another merry-go-round of silly Billy nonsense where, isn't it funny when Spock doesn't fit in with society? Isn't that funny? Wouldn't it be cool if Spock was marrying Chapel? Isn't love funny? I don't know. It's up to you. But all in all, if we're taking all these things together, this is an episode I would skip. It's an episode I wouldn't show other people. It's a little bit embarrassing. But at the same time, I did not come away extremely angry, like with some other outings from New Trek. With all that out of the way, I'm going to have to go ahead and give this episode a 4 out of 10. It's not good enough to be an average 5, just get to the finish line. It doesn't really get to the finish line in enough things for me to come back to whatever. It's weak in a lot of regards, but most importantly, you're reintroducing, we'll say, this character from TOS, who does the same thing they do in TOS, essentially, with a plot line that wraps itself up the same way it did in TOS. We are almost remaking an episode from TOS here, but with funny marriage stuff between Spock and Chapel and Korby. Not that they're getting a three-way marriage or anything, but Korby was not the problem. The Space Wizard in itself was not the problem. The problem was it just didn't mean anything. It didn't have anything new to add. It had no intrigue. And when you go down these layers of importance, you say theme, okay, plot, is there anything actually interesting about this? And you go down these notches. And at the end, if you realize don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this, you're left with an episode at the very end of the day that you can kind of ignore. You can look at it because it looks cool, and there's some scenes that may or may not be funny. That's Wedding Bell Blues, and very different from Hegemony Part 2, but also, not in a good way. These first 2 episodes from Strange New World Season 3 have been a very mixed bag in the sense that they're so different from each other, but they're both, not that great. They're both not great in the same way. Very odd. But I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I hope you're going to come back next time, and I'm going to see you next time I see you, when we review the 3rd episode of Strange New World Season 3, whatever that's called. I'm going to see you next time I see you. I think I'm saying that twice. So long.